The Podcasting Dead is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Make sure to subscribe for more podcasts. And while you're at it, drop us a like. If you want to help support the channel and have access to extra content, secret contests, and more, make sure to search for us on Patreon. Patreon.com/thepodcastingdead.
All right, it's time to talk Walking Dead, season 10B. I'm Justin.
Oh, I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead. If you're not familiar with us, consider checking out our channel. We podcast about a wide variety of stuff, of course, including The Walking Dead. That's actually how we started, and then we branched off into other things. So a little bit of something for everyone. In the meantime, we're going to be talking about what we want to see from the second half of this season, maybe a little bit of prediction, just kind of a broad discussion on the upcoming second half of Season 10. So, JP, first and foremost, man, what are some things that you really, really want to see?
Well, you want to see more Negan, of course. You got to see how that plays out. I think we have an inkling as to what his motivations are, but a lot of the viewers, think perhaps he's went back to his evil ways and all this kind of thing. A lot of people think perhaps he's trying to turn the Whisperers into his army, his cult of personality.
What do you think?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think he's on the side of the Angels now. You see what I mean?
I don't. So what are the Angels?
Well, he's on the side of the Angels. He's more or less playing a double agent, spy versus spy.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think he's doing some. I think Negan is trying to earn his place amongst like the Alexandrians and the Hilltops. I think he's trying to atone. I think that kid. I think seeing the action after it'd be bad writing. I feel, at least in my opinion. But what do I know? If Negan went through all that crap with that kid, seeing how his past actions affected someone, seeing that this kid was so desperate to be like him, it cost an innocent woman and her child their life just for him to turn around and go right back to being evil. That'd be, in my opinion, that would just be crappy writing.
Yeah, which not that they've never done that before, but Angela King has a pretty clean track record the last couple seasons, so I don't think that's what they're going to do.
No, I think
I've been wrong before.
Well, there's pictures that have surfaced, and I actually think it's in the trailer of Alpha kind of looking up almost blissfully with like blood all over her neck and all of that. Spoiler alert for the comics. We're going to be talking about the way things play out in the comics. So if you don't want to know that, number one, why haven't you read them already? They've been out and done so long now that I almost don't feel bad for spoiling comics because you're like, dude, it's been out for 15 plus years. I mean, catch up. But anyways, if you don't want spoilers, I understand. I don't, but I do. But you've been warned. So in the comics, obviously Negan, and also let me say, I hate backtracking. I know I'm terrible about it. But, and I do understand, though, if you say, well, I don't want comic spoilers because I want to go into this with a clean slate. I don't want to know what to expect. Now, that I understand. So you might not want to listen to this next part. But in the comics, we know that Negan goes in and does what he's got to do to earn Rick's trust. That's kind of his motive. And there are some pictures that have surfaced, someone freeze-framed of Alpha covered in blood, and then Carol holding a bag with Daryl, and it's a behind-the-scenes photo that dropped, but it's Carol with the bag in her hand, and then it's Norman Reedus and Jeffrey Dean Morgan's kind of standing behind him, and he and Jeffrey Dean Morgan are having like a smoke break. And Carol's got that bag in her hand, a lot of people thinking it may be a certain someone's head in that bag.
I do think what you're talking about is a fixed point that they can't really gloss over. I think that's got to happen.
Kind of like the Glenn death, just one of those things where you can try to psych it out, but you still have to do it because it's just such an iconic moment. It would just be a disservice to the series to rob it of that chance. You know
exactly. And it's crazy to think that won't make things escalate even more. You see what I mean? So I think it'll definitely be a shot in the arm that the show needs.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, I think it should definitely play out the way it does in the comics because of the fact that, you have this whole, like with Negan, the governor, it's all this culmination of stuff, and then they finally defeat the bad guy in a swift, when you see it coming, whereas this is so out in left field, it's a nice, pleasant left turn. You just
Right.
feel like, whoa, and
Yeah.
it doesn't play out the way that normal hero-villain stories do.
Yeah, I don't want to see it as some like grand finale at the end of the season. I want to see it out of the blue, just a sporadic episode, just like it was in the comic. Like, I mean, you didn't think that issue was going to end with something like that. You know what I'm saying?
No, I remember when it happened, you're like, whoa.
Whoa, yeah. So that's what I would like to see.
I want that whoa effect, absolutely. And I agree 100% with JP. It should be something that is way out in left field, just on a random episode, not a finale, nothing. Like we're just chilling 1 minute and the next minute, it's almost like a rabid dog attacking. Like you're chilling one minute and then what the hell just happened? That's what I want. I missed that about The Walking Dead. I remember when Herschel got bit in season 3, just remember thinking like, man, no one is safe on this show.
Yeah.
They used to try to say no one's safe, not even Rick. We were like, come on, you're not going to just kill off Rick. We're not that stupid.
Nah, they can't.
And then Daryl got to the point where we were like, yeah, you're definitely probably not going to kill him off either.
Do you think he'll make it to the end of the season?
Daryl?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I don't see them
think
killing
he's
him
going
off.
anywhere?
I think he's going to ride it to the end of the show.
You're probably right.
He's a cash cow, man. And with so many people gone now, I mean, I feel like you have to end the show with someone that was there at the beginning.
Yeah.
Just my opinion. I mean, maybe not, but I feel like somebody from the beginning needs to be there to end the show with none of your original players there. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? It's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
At least call it like The Walking Dead, The Next Generation or something.
Yeah, a soft little retool, but
Right.
yeah. So yeah, Daryl's probably safe. Do you see any of the OGs dying before I mean, obviously we're going to lose Michonne in one way or another.
Right.
But do you see any of the OGs getting chopped out?
I could see, I don't know, man. I could kind of see Carol dying.
You think Carol
I could
might
kind of
bite the
see
dust?
her quest for vengeance just getting her killed. But if she's the one with her, well, I don't know, because once the war really, and that's a slight spoiler we'll give, is that the Whisperer War is going to escalate. This isn't, and some of you are probably like, duh, but for those that didn't know, I mean, it's going to go beyond just little sneaky attacks and I mean, it goes on to a full-out war, one point. And I don't know, man. I think that Jerry's probably going to die. I'm going to say when we return to the show,
Yeah.
I think that Jerry's going to die a death very similar to T-Dog. I think that we're going to see Jerry like pushing zombies back to save people, possibly even Kelly. Some people saying Connie's going to die. I like Connie way better than Kelly, and that's just due to the fact we haven't had much time to get to know or really like Kelly. Connie, on the other hand, we've spent a lot of time with. I think she had one of the coolest scenes in the show ever, which was when she was going through the cornfield or whatever that field was. And being she's deaf, and we were kind of given a first-person perspective of going through the bushes deaf and having these zombies. I thought that was a really cool scene.
Oh, it was a great sequence.
So, we've gotten to know Connie a little bit better. But, yeah, I think Jerry's definitely going to die.
What do you foresee for Father Gabriel?
I feel like, spoilers, again, I feel like his death has got to be like it was in the comic. It was just such a brutal and shocking death. I remember when he dies in the comic, you're just like, oh, schnit. And then what happens, just the way it sets up, the way it's brutal. And I feel like it's one of those things where they can't rob the show of that either. And they might. Because I thought the Pike scene was irreversible. Irreversible. I thought it was just like they're not going to not kill the people they did in the comics. It was such a shock. And they didn't, but the way they did it, I was happy with because it was still a big shock. So
yeah, if Gabriel eats it, man, that's really Eugene is really coming up aces. Sadiq's out of his way. Father Gabriel will be out of his way, and he's just got a clear shot now at Rosita's butt. So
what do we find out? He's been setting us up the whole time.
Yeah.
Eugene started the Whisperers to get into Rosita's pants. Like he found these people in the woods, was like, I'm going to tell you of a plan that I have that will keep you alive and get me the butt.
He might be the mastermind. You never know.
It's like alpha, beta. They all work for him.
Yeah.
And it's just all, because like I said, you got Sadiq out the way. If Father Gabriel dies, that's really it, right? Was there anybody else?
I don't think so, unless she's got
And she's
some more
been thinking about Eugene a lot. They're definitely going towards a Eugene and Rosita. It's interesting how that's going to play out, though, because I'm wondering, because, I mean, in the comics, spoilers, she's gone.
Yeah.
that relationship kind of came and went.
It did.
I mean, they were still somewhat together when that happened, but it was a very twisted web of betrayal and secrets and yada, yada, yada. Whereas, like, now that time has passed. And, Eugene ends up with somebody else in the comics and not her. So I don't know. I mean, I do like some of the deviations from the comics so that it keeps us guessing. Because if it was written exactly like the comics, it would get a little boring.
Right, exactly. So you heard it here first. Eugene is the mastermind behind the Whispers.
Eugene started the Whispers.
Yeah, you called it.
Skin the hides of the undead, wear them, and become the undead. And then I will be in between Rosita's cheeks in no time.
Yep. All part of his dastardly plan. Who can blame him, though? Good grief.
Rosita is extremely attractive.
Yes.
And she's a badass. So
yes.
That just ups the... It's like, you remember when Negan tells Olivia after she slaps him, he's like, just for the record, I'm like 50% more into you now. Because he's like... They were waiting on Rick, and he basically was just like, hey, while we wait, if you want... I'd be more than happy to bang your brains out until he gets here. And she smacks him, and he's like, for the record, I'm like 50%.
Oh, yeah.
When Rosita beat the shit out of Dante, I just say, if I could speak to her, I'd be like, just for the record, I'm now 50% more into you. Because it was just so hot. Like, we knew Rosita was a badass, and The Walking Dead is one of those shows that definitely does a good job of giving us some badass women. But we just I don't know. We haven't seen her go fist to fist in that way. Like, we've seen her do some badass things, but to see her just throwing hands and messing him up, it was awesome, dude.
Yes, it was.
It just kind of moved her up. And now Maggie's going to return. When do you think we're going to see Maggie? I personally think it's going to be a season finale type deal.
Oh, man, you think they're going to hold off that long?
do, but I would like that's not what I want. I just feel like The Walking Dead sometimes does that. I feel like that they probably... I mean, it wouldn't even shock me if it was like a post-credit scene or something, Do you think that's AMC's way of almost punishing the actress because she kind of made that money move and left, and they're like, yeah, we'll bring you back, but we're going to pay you for one episode out of this whole season, and then we'll, kind of bring you in a bigger way. Well, no, because that's kind of the reason why she left to begin with, was finances. And I'm not saying she doesn't need the finances, but... I think that what might happen, I feel like probably what happened was they had already started filming and the negotiations were going on. And when they probably agreed on something, it was either most of or the whole season was filmed. And I don't know my timelines. I could be completely wrong. But, of course, they want to get her in. So it was like pretty much after most of the season was wrapped, they probably brought her in and filmed a scene to bring her back to the show. But I feel like in the finale, that's when Maggie will come back. Don't get me wrong. Nothing would make me happier than to see Maggie roll back up in the mid-season premiere.
Yeah.
And a lot of people really hating on Maggie. I didn't realize Maggie had so many haters. And I think a lot of it had to do with her whole kind of, we're going to teach Rick a lesson.
Yeah, that last season just sealed her fate.
But people forgave Daryl, because don't forget, Daryl's dirty ass stepped up and was like, yeah, we will. Jesus was just sitting there the whole time like, I don't know why I'm here. And then Daryl's like, yeah. We will, and then they didn't. Yeah. All he did was get Rick seriously messed up by trying to stall him so Maggie could kill Negan, and yeah. But I mean, if we can forgive Daryl, can we forgive Maggie? I mean,
well, I feel like Daryl's at least paid his penance. Living out there in the wilderness.
I'm looking for Rick.
Yeah, I don't know.
Man. I still just think, we talked about it last year, but it just still cracks me up the thought of like. We know he was pretty much looking for Rick's body, but we were joking and we were like, what does he expect to find? Like, Rick, I'm still looking for him. He like finds Rick living in a little like mud hut or whatever. And he's just like, Rick, go on, Daryl. I don't want to talk to you. You almost got me killed.
Yeah.
I had to blow up a bridge and shit. I don't want to see you no more. But Michonne, I don't want to see her either.
It would have been crazy if you had like not asthma. Where you can't remember anything.
Oh, amnesia.
Amnesia, right.
I've got asthma. You can't breathe. No, I don't know who I am.
Yeah, if he had that and they had to like remind him who he was, almost like a soap opera kind of deal. But yeah.
I almost wonder if the Rick movies won't go that direction.
Give him Amnesia.
No, not amnesia.
Give him asthma.
Give him asthma. So Rick wakes up and he's like, Coral! Oh, and they're like, get him his inhaler.
Oh, God.
You now have asthma.
Oh, no.
No. The explosion, it blew sawdust into your lungs, and now you have asthma. I just... Yeah, I don't know, man. I almost wonder if they're going to go that route. And it's going to be because I don't know if they from what I remember reading a while back, unless it's changed, and if you know more about this than we do, which you probably do, let us know in the comments. But I mean, I've read that Rick's going to survive all 3 movies. So I mean, if he survives, I can't imagine he wouldn't be making his way back to Alexandria or the hilltop, that whole thing. So. Maybe he does lose his memory.
Yeah, I'd like to see Shane come back in that capacity, kind of like, someone that only Rick can see, and he's kind of guiding him along this journey back to himself.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Or Glenn.
Yeah, yeah.
And to say that because Glenn would definitely be a good spirit guide.
Yeah, he would be.
But Stephen Yen, from everything I've read, has no desire to come back to the show in any capacity. So,
well, he could almost be like a devil and an angel on your shoulder. Glenn
right.
and Shane leading him.
That's a great idea, man. Shoot, forget just limiting it to 1 or 2 people. What if they brought back all the dead? What if you saw Dale?
Oh my God!
Obviously, you won't see Herschel because the actor passed away.
He's actually dead.
I can't imagine how sad it was to watch his scene with Rick.
Yeah.
On Rick's last episode, being in his family or friends. It was already heartbreaking as it was, but knowing him personally and seeing that's got to be it. It was probably beautiful in a way, but very heartbreaking.
They could CGI Herschel in, kind of like, aren't they doing that with like James Dean or something for a new movie?
Yeah, they could. If the family would give permission, obviously.
Yeah, that'd be pretty weird.
Scott Wilson. Oh, man. But, yeah, I don't know. I wonder if I wonder if the amnesia thing is going to play a part.
It possibly could.
And I would love to see, like Lori, even Andrea's dumbass, just all of them, like, making an appearance. Kind of like, remember when Rick was taking the phone calls in the prison?
Yeah.
That was, like, Shane and, Lori and all of these people that were dead talking to him. Almost like that.
Do you think you could ever give into that? Like, if your brain was that muffed up, could you indulge that fantasy? Or would you just be like, no?
I don't think you have a choice. If your brain's that muffed up, I don't think you have a choice. I don't think, you know that you are in a fantasy. I think that's what makes it so hard is the fact that you're accepting it as reality, not by choice, but because that's what you see as your reality. Like, he heard the phone ring. He heard voices. It's not like, he knew he was making this up or it was his brain. I mean, in what he was perceiving, it was DMT does that to people, creates a false reality that some people, I was actually watching something really interesting over the weekend, which we'll talk about that on our Patreon podcast because this is a Walking Dead podcast. But I saw some really cool stuff on DMT and just talking about like life after death and DMT's. Really fascinating stuff, I mean, it was cool for either side, whether you believe or you don't believe. It was just a really cool showing how DMT affects the brain. Apparently, DMT is the most potent hallucinogenic out there.
Exactly.
But anyways, but yeah. So, would you? Do you like to think that you would have some semblance of sanity and you would know that this wasn't real?
Yeah, I would, deny indulging in these. This break of reality,
But like the phone rings, you're just gonna convince yourself the phone isn't ringing?
Well, I mean, if I know there's, in that setting, yeah, of course.
I mean, but like, let's say someone this isn't something that is a fantasy. Like you hear the phone ring right now and it's someone that's passed away while baffled, but you're hearing their voice. It's not like you're generating, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not generating this on purpose. Like, you're receiving their voice in your ear. It's not gonna, you think that you would be strong enough just to be like, this can't be real?
Yeah, I think I would. I
think we'd like to think we would, but I don't think any of us could really know until we wind up in that situation. And it depends on who it is. Because you got to think, too, Rick at first didn't know it was the dead people.
At first, right.
So that was even it was even easier for him to just kind of sink into that false reality because the phone rings, which is a little unbelievable, but then he hears voices that he doesn't immediately recognize, and you really kind of get into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know that Rick ever really thought that Lori was like a ghost, a real ghost manifesting, but I think that, he just was freaking out. I don't know. I mean, he chased her like he thought she was real, but I think some part of Rick knew she wasn't real. Mm-hmm. Just he didn't know why he was seeing her.
Yeah. Do you think his hallucinations will come back in the movies? Maybe they will.
Man, what if Carl was a spirit guide?
Oh, God.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you what. We've hashed on this, and we've hashed on this, and we've hashed on this. So if you're a longtime listener and you're like, I don't want to hear about the whole why they shouldn't have killed Carl thing again, I apologize. And just remember, no one's forcing you to go beyond this point. We love you. We hope you continue to view. But if you want to close out at this point, I don't blame you. But we're fans of the show, and we just kind of talk about things here. But, all right, going back on season 8 where Carl dies.
Yes.
I like going back and just rewatching it the way that I have. It should have been Morgan. Morgan, like everything they had set up was for Morgan. Morgan was the guy that saved Rick. Morgan dying and Rick keeping Negan alive in honor of Morgan would have been full circle for the show.
Yeah.
Morgan's the guy that saved Rick, gave him a chance, helped him get out on his feet, all right? Morgan's the one that came back with this whole philosophy of, every life is special. Morgan built the frickin' jail cell. Okay, so what should have happened, I don't know that Morgan and Negan ever really straight up met before the final battle. I don't remember seeing Morgan and Negan. But, like, something should have happened. Maybe when, number one, there should have been more bonding between Rick and Morgan. They should have really had them spending a lot more time together and having these conversations, where Morgan would have then had a chance to really get into Rick's head about every life is precious. Now, be it sacrificing himself, whatever. Morgan should have died a really tragic and sad death at the hands of Negan. It could have been saving Rick again to prove his point, whatever. It should have been something special. And then just everything set up just led to that. That's just a gripe. And I know that some smart asses are like, we've heard this. I know, but I'm just rewatching it has further solidified that in my mind. Like that's what should have happened. That's what they set up for. And then how ironic and full circle is it that the guy that saved Rick, in his honor, he keeps Negan alive and keeps Negan in the jail cell that guy built. It's like Morgan gets his revenge even after death because he built the jail cell that keeps Negan. It just the whole Carl thing for me was a sudden shift because you spend so many seasons turning Carl into this cold-blooded killer. I mean, Christ, the season before he hitched it. At the point right before he dies, he's all talking about, we can't keep killing each other. There's got to be something after Dad, which is basically all stuff Morgan should have been saying. Uh-huh. But that's not too long before, wasn't he just hitching a ride in the back of Negan's truck and with one mission to kill Negan?
He was doing that.
I mean, that was his goal, kill Negan. I'm going to kill Negan. And he mentions, we're going to kill you. We're stronger than you think. And then out of nowhere, Carl just gets this, there's got to be something after. And I know we all know, there was some drama, whatever. But what I'm saying is just from a story writing perspective and after going back through and rewatching the show, that would have been some great writing, man, had it have been Morgan.
Yeah, that season went off the rails in a pretty big way.
I mean, it really just going back on it, man, and rewatching has just kind of brought that back up. And I'm just like, dude, Morgan. I mean, I don't want Morgan to die. I think Lenny James is awesome. I love Morgan's character, but that would have made sense. It would have been a whole out of all this, he finds Rick again after all this time and distance, and they find each other, and he shows up to kind of change Rick's perspective on it. Just everything was set up so perfectly for Morgan to be the catalyst to Rick, because Scott Pimple was saying hey, we had to do this because this is what shapes the way future events play out and the end of the war. Okay, but it didn't have to just be Carl.
No, dude, it was such a drag.
Morgan always held a special spot in Rick's heart, I feel.
He did.
You know, I mean, I feel like they kind of had that. I mean, that's the first person he saw, first living person that he saw after he came out of his coma. So, I mean, you know, it just, I don't know. But anyways, I digress big time, and I apologize. But after rewatching the show, that was something that
I don't think I could make it through that season, dude. I don't think
I skipped a lot of episodes in season 7, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
Season 8 wasn't as bad, but season 7 I did skip through a couple of episodes just because I was like as much as I love them, the Rick and Michonne episode with the worst CGI deer of all time. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I skipped that one. I skipped I skipped the Oceanside episode,
So you hit the highlights.
which I know the Oceanside episode was one of your favorites.
Yeah, I like that one. But
yeah, I did. Every other season other than 7, you know, and I watched like the first half of 7, I guess. But there just were episodes after that were. Well, I'm currently in season 8. Where Rick, I just got through the episode with Negan and Rick in the factory where Negan Rick slams Negan from the side and they end up going into that big factory. And Negan falls in a really weird way and Rick shows off his hatchet throwing skills. And
oh man, here's hoping that the next half of this season is going to be on track. I wasn't crazy about the mid-season finale, so I hope it's good. I hope it's great, man. I hope it changes our lives in a big way.
It was a fairly weak mid-season finale for an otherwise pretty good season. Yeah. You know, I mean, I've enjoyed this season so far, and I've never at any point been like, oh, we're slipping back into this boring BS. But in the mid-season finale was not a bad episode. We've said several times it was just not a good mid-season finale. It would have been good if it was like an episode before the finale.
Yeah.
But so hoping that we're going to, and I think they're going to switch it up on us, man. I really think things are going to stop kind of dragging in the second half. I think things are going to pick up a lot faster than we expect them to.
Yeah.
But predictions, death predictions. Do you want to try and take a guess at who will not make it through this season?
I never get it right, so
I don't either, but that's the thing,
right.
man. I don't think Jerry's going to make it out. I don't think Kelly's going to. They foreshadowed Kelly or Connie's death way too much, but I feel like it would be a complete waste for them to take Connie out after all the character building they've done. But then again, I don't know. Maybe they should take Connie out because it will have a way more emotional impact. I feel like they haven't given us that much time with Kelly, and then they're going to kill her and expect it to be really sad, but it's not because we haven't spent that much time with Kelly. Yeah. So I don't know. Connie or Kelly. I think Kelly would be the safe bet, but maybe Connie. Connie or Kelly, one of those two aren't going to make it out. I think Carol might actually still die.
I know you've got your money on Carol, Jerry, Father Gabriel.
Father Gabriel's probably not going to make it out.
Alpha.
Totally, Alpha's not going to make it. I think Beta will make it.
Yeah, I do too.
That's another question. Do you think they're going to wrap up the Whisperer War this season, or do you think that it'll kind of end in the middle of it?
I think they should wrap it up, but they probably won't.
Because if they wrap it up, I mean, there are rumors out there that The Walking Dead's going to end with season 12, which I think we've discussed, you know, but that sucks ass because if it's back to being good, I would
keep it rolling.
But 12 years is a good run. I mean, that's still good TV. If you kept a show going for 12 seasons, there's nothing to, no shame in throwing in the towel after 12 seasons and wrapping it up. But if they do end the Whisperer War this season, what's after that? The Commonwealth, and that's pretty much it. Can you really see the Commonwealth dragging out 2 whole seasons?
I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know.
I think it'd be really cool if what we got, and kind of comic spoilers here, but nothing too terrible. I feel like if we wrapped up the Whisperer War this season in season 10, season 11 comes out, and that's the whole Commonwealth. And it'd be really cool if all of season 12 was kind of flashing forward to the future in the way that the comics kind of did.
I mean, they could almost launch an entire new series based on that.
Yeah, I still, somebody put in YouTube comments, and I don't remember the name of the person that put it, but God, they were so right. They were like, the way the show should end is like a crow's pecking on a corpse, and the crow, flies up, and we just start kind of, like, have some sad kind of reminiscing music playing, and that crow should fly over like every location.
Right.
And it don't have to be like one consistent flight. You can kind of flash and fade into stuff. But he should fly over the ruins of the prison. Or maybe someone's found it and built it up. But we fly all the way back to Herschel's farm and the camp outside of Atlanta. Like it just kind of, and I know they probably won't do that, but now that I've got that in my head, I feel like nothing they can do is going to make me happy until I see that. Just revisit all of the locations and just take us down memory lane as they wrap up the show.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to go past 12?
I do. Yeah, I think it'll go far past 12. Either that or they will reboot it, like you said, in some kind of like Walking Dead, the next gen kind of deal. Oh, excuse my yawn. I'm sorry. Ooh. I'm sorry for that.
Well, you don't need to apologize to me. Just apologize to the listeners. No. I'm just playing. I eat food. Yeah, it's so funny, man. I get called out sometimes for eating food, to which I say, well, if you want podcasts, sometimes I have to eat in podcasts because it's the only time I have to eat, and it's the only time I have to podcast. So sometimes just deal with it.
So, yeah, I'm getting right hungry my own self.
Oh, yeah. I just ate a Pop-Tart at the beginning, but I'm starving again.
It just revs your appetite right back up.
How far could you see The Walking Dead going? Like if you had to and I know it's really hard to say because, the next season could be amazing and prompts it to go, or it could be terrible. But I mean, if you had to guess, how long could you see this show going?
I could see it going into the 20s.
Because they say they've got enough material. At least that's what they said a year or two back was, we've got enough material to write 10 more seasons.
Yeah, they do. And they will.
As long as they don't drag stuff out.
Yeah.
Like, I really wish they would kind of take notes from other shows. Like, you could have these overarching stories, but you could also have some little subplots, which somebody's going to be, say, well, they do. And I know they do, but put more emphasis on these subplots. Make them more of a thing. Like, you've got the whole Commonwealth looming, but then give us some more stories, like more than just filler, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Like, make the subplots be more than filler. Make them, I don't know. Yeah. It's Monday. Hopefully you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, man. I think there's good stuff on the way. I hope. My fingers are crossed. Fingers and toes.
You have little shoes. Are you really crossing your toes? 'Cause I can't do that inside my shoes.
Oh, yeah. Mine are roomy. And I got skinny feet, so my...
Pull your foot up. You ain't got to take a shoe off. Just pull your foot up.
I got room in
There's
there.
no way you're crossing your toes in the bad boys.
I got room in there.
Ain't no way. But yeah, how long do you, the listener, think that The Walking Dead is going to go on? How many seasons are we going to get from this show? Who do you think is not going to make it out of this season? What do you expect from next season? Let us know your thoughts on the show on the second part of season 10. All that good stuff. Let us know if you think it should have been Morgan that died instead of Carl. Somebody commented on one of our videos like a year ago, and it's so funny because they were like, they made a big mistake when it's more than a year later and we're still talking about why killing Carl was a mistake. It's just when you go back through the show, all of these old thoughts just, kind of resurface.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was
It was a big boo-boo.
Yeah, you spend all this time making Carl badass, and then just in a matter of an episode or two, he's like, Dad, we have to save people. It's like, no, that
ain't no damn sense.
Are you excited for Fear the Walking Dead to return?
No, I'm not.
Do you think that Morgan is going to go to the Rick movies? Because you remember it ended with him in quite a pickle.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to. I'm so disinterested at this point. I don't care.
I'm trying to. All right, so we know the show can be good.
Yeah.
It's just, so I'm really, really hoping that they're going to turn it around. I'm thinking a lot of people are saying that Rick's going to show up and save Morgan. But I don't know if the timelines line up right or not.
I have no idea, dude. It's a big mess.
But yeah, I don't know. Do you think that just jumping to that for a second, do you think Morgan's going to survive?
Yeah, I think he will. I don't know what cockamamie way they'll have him survive. But
there's a dumpster inside that building. He's going to crawl in the building. He's going to find an opening, and he's just going to crawl under the dumpster inside the building.
There'll be like a first aid kit in there. And
he'll crawl up under it.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
He'll find the first aid kit and just like, it'll be so ridiculous that like he lays in the floor with this little first aid kit like just pulled up over his face, and the walkers are like,
Yeah, dude. There'll probably be that helicopter lady from one of those episodes will run up on him, and I don't know. It's just ridiculous at this point.
Fingers crossed that it will get better. Hopefully they are listening to the listeners, because we have a few people that snap at us when we talk shit about Fear the Walking Dead, but overall the consensus from our listeners seems to be in agreement that it's just not really that interesting.
Yeah,
but hopefully it's going to turn. I would love, especially with this new show coming out, I would love to see just all three on point. Just let the Walking Dead franchise and just universe rule TV.
Maybe it will. I don't know.
But yeah, so we'll have a third podcast coming out soon.
Yeah,
we'll be talking about the new one when that starts. So let us know your thoughts below in the comments, and don't forget, if you haven't already, check out our Patreon where you can get extra podcasts. You can get a chance to win some cool prizes, and I'd say, I mean, you get to know us some with the mail call, but I feel like we are totally ourselves on the Patreon. I feel like the Patreon almost feels like a therapist office. Like it's
a lot of fun.
It's a special space where we just kind of really open up. So, yeah, I mean, for as little as $1 a month, you could be part of the fun.
Yeah.
So check that out, patreon.com, and just search The Podcasting Dead. Don't forget, if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to stream it, then you always have the options from iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify. And if you're listening to it on this, but you want to find us on YouTube where you can listen to podcasts dating back to the very beginning of this podcast, they're all banked on YouTube.
Yep.
But in the meantime, we'll catch you tomorrow for Patreon. If not, we'll see you Wednesday for Weird Wednesday, where I think we're going to be discussing black-eyed children.
Oh, wow. I'm excited. I don't know much about them.
I'm excited to talk about it, being you don't. I really can't wait to hear your thoughts. I want you, after this one, I want you to find something that I've never heard of.
I will.
And let me give my thoughts.
I will.
It'll be fun. But we'll see you soon. I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we're The Podcasting Dead.